price-fixing thing have led to a sense that when a company is claiming to be a force for good in the world, that's precisely the time to be suspicious of them. Private citizens, after all, are structured to place their private companies, after all, are structured to place their stakeholders' interests above all else. You know what? Fair enough. I would say that the argument is that we still expect a certain amount of social for them to be good social actors, for companies to be good social actors regardless. I'm not saying it necessarily excuses them, but and I'll get into this a little bit later with a full response, but to just cast them aside because they do act in their own self-interest, I find is a little bit short-sighted, I guess. Anyhow, he continues. When you apply that background to Bell Let's Talk, some uncomfortable questions emerge. What right does Bell have to frame the discussion around these issues? Why do we have to beg these organizations for money to address our social ills? Why aren't we including mental health care under the Canadian Health Act? Absolutely. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting the email a bunch here, but yeah, that is just like, we could be doing a whole lot more publicly about mental health in this country. On the provincial level, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, here in Nova Scotia, it was actually recently came out, and this is kind of getting a little bit away from mental health specifically, but it recently came out that part of the reason that it's so goddamn difficult to get a family doctor in this province is that doctors on average are paid the lowest wages in the country here in Nova Scotia. So nobody wants to come here. So if you don't have like a strong link to this province to begin with, you're going to go and practice elsewhere in the country where you can actually make a decent wage, where where the wages that you do make, the salary that you do make, isn't going to be completely soaked up into the cost of running your practice. So of course, it's going to become more and more difficult for us to attract good doctors to this province. It's going to be more and more difficult for us to replace the doctors who are having to retire now. And that's going to just have spin-off effects into the fact that, like, you know, people who actually need the mental health care, you know, yours truly included here, aren't going to be able to get it as easily as they absolutely should. Anyhow, that was just a little spin-off rant there. Anyhow, and taxing companies like Bell to fund its free provision to everyone who needs it. Why aren't we thinking more seriously about how the corporate practices of companies like Bell exacerbate mental health issues? With all those questions hanging in the air, I find myself uncomfortable with letting Bell stamp its brand on mental health issues, particularly for what is, from Bell's perspective, a fairly small amount of money. That's a well-taken point. I'm not going to lie to you right there. Like the money in terms of Bell's bottom line is chump change. In terms of the actual effect, though, those millions of dollars, I think it was close to $7, is not chump change in terms of the actual good that it can do. Anyhow, he continues. Ultimately, I think that if we really want to tackle these issues, we're going to need more resources and concessions from the private sector than they're going to be prepared to give voluntarily. All that being said, I agree with you that the lack of political perfection is not a reason to reject that money and the real difference it might be able to make. So I propose the following compromise. Next time Bell Let's Talk rolls around, how about the critics tweet as many critiques they can think of, but use the hashtag each time so that the money gets donated anyway. And that's actually kind of what my argument boils down to on my side, Cameron. I think that if you're going to just like purposely not participate in Bell Let's Talk and then just bitch about Bell without using the hashtag on purpose because it's free advertising for Bell, that's where the bullshit lies for me. I absolutely despise anybody who wants to take that tactic, because again, if you're going to take that tactic, okay, I want to see a donation from you for every social media post that you post on that particular day towards some sort of social good, some sort of mental health organization from your own funds for every social media post you make on that day. If you're going to refuse to use Bell's hashtag because it gives Bell some free advertisement, get over yourself. In fact, on Bell Let's Talk Day, I actually posted an article, and I posted it to the Facebook page for the John DuLong Show. The Canada Land article that criticizes Bell in terms of their own corporate policy around mental health coverage, around how some folks in that organization have come out of that organization with incredibly exacerbated mental health issues. Anyhow, that's just it. Anyhow, he says, once again, I have to say that I love the show and send greetings from Manchester. I'm looking forward to hearing more of it. Cameron. I guess the only other thing that I would say, Cam, is that I think you actually kind of nailed part of my point, and you kind of made part of my argument. I think we agree on this more broadly than we disagree. Part of the problem that I have with some of this infighting in the left is that there are some folks on the left who want absolutes. They want perfection in terms of how things are going. I think that there certainly are some absolutes, and there are some moral absolutes that we should be striving for as a political movement. But for every one of those moral absolutes, there's 10 different things that are shades of gray. Ultimately, I think that criticizing Bell is absolutely fine. Criticizing other companies that do things like Bell are absolutely fine. Like, take the Loblaws example. They're giving out those $25 gift cards because of the bread price fixing thing. They're also facing a class action lawsuit probably. I don't think it's been finalized or anything like that, but it's more than likely going to happen. I'm both going to take that money and take that $25 and use it. And if I get the opportunity, I'm also going to be party to that class action. I think that you can have both things. You can both demand more and also participate in what is not a perfect option, while striving for what is perfection down the line. But I think that is absolutely the right tactic. If you want to criticize Bell on Bell Let's Talk Day, do it all you want. Just please use the hashtag. Make sure that they're paying for your criticism. That's the best way to get back at them, quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned. Anyhow, thank you so much for writing in, Cameron. Like I said, it's always great to hear from you, buddy. Glad to hear that you're doing well. It was really great seeing you this past summer. Hopefully we see each other again soon. Also, I want you to know, it's an audio podcast. You can't see me right now, but I'm flipping you off. I feel like that's important for me to point out. That's going to do it for this week on the John DuLong Show. I hope you enjoyed. This show is produced by me and with music from Mon Plaisir. You can check them out at loyaltyfreakmusic.com. You can follow the show on facebook.com/The John DuLong Show. You can email into the show at johndulongshow@gmail.com. And you can follow me on social media at Jibberty, JIBERDY. Make sure that you subscribe to the show on iTunes or Google Play if you could. Rate and review, as that helps getting more folks listening. Another great way to help out is to tell a friend about the show, get the word out, and of course, make sure you tune in every Monday for your weekly dose of the Monday morning nonsense. Next week, I'm going to try and get a guest on the show, guys. It's time. It's been a minute since the last guest spot on the show, so hopefully I'm going to have somebody on to talk about a movie that I saw recently that I absolutely loved. I actually saw it this past weekend, The Post. So I'm going to try and have somebody on to chat about that, and that'll be next week's show. But in the meantime, for John DuLong, I'm John DuLong, and remember, a stage production about puns is just a play on words. Thanks. Seriously, though, Tom Hanks is a goddamn treasure, and Meryl Streep is a gift to the world, and then, the rest of that cast was absolutely absurd. Bob Odenkirk, David Cross. Like Bradley Whitford. I'd forgotten that Brad Whitford was in that movie. Alison Brie, I didn't even know was in the movie. Although I did like laugh out loud in the theater at one particular line. You know, the fidelity of the office of the president. How times have changed. Anywho, see you next week. Bye!